All right, we'll call this Health and Emergency Services to order March 4th, 5 o'clock. Vice Chair Mansfield, did you give the invocation?
Yes, sir. Let's pray. Dear Jesus, we just we thank you for today. We thank you for your blessings, and God, we thank you for all of the volunteers and first responders who have been out searching for Sebastian, Father, and that you have encouraged them and been with them. And I just pray that you continue to encourage them as they're continuing efforts and shifting operations, Lord. And pray grace for the family and for this missing boy, and that your grace would be upon them, God, and that you would just shine your light and bring revelation to where he is, Lord. And I pray for Commissioner Schoaf and passing of his father, and Commissioner Hyde and on his passing of his son, Father, that you would still be with them and protect their hearts and spirits and their families. And we just bless this meeting in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. Do you want to go ahead and explain why you're...
Yeah, Chairman Hyde contacted me and wanted me to just let you guys know that he's just taken a break this month to focus on family affairs and get stuff done, and has asked me to sit in his stead for this month. So just and keep his family in your prayers, and he asked that. So
Before we get to approval of the agenda, I've got two. Well, I guess one would be an addition and one's a handout. So under new business 13B, we would like to add this, the Bearcat contract. I believe everyone should have gotten the email today.
I didn't, I've been working.
Sure. Well, I sent.
Heard about it, but I couldn't
Yeah.
get to it.
Mr. Chairman, could we move that up a little bit? Because I'm sure Mr. Widener would like to get back to, he was here, where did he go?
He's hiding.
Oh, there you are. I'm sure he'd like to get back out to the,
Yeah, we can go out of order. I just need to put it there to get it on the agenda.
so moved.
All right, got a motion. Do we have a second?
Let's just put discussion.
Just to put it on the agenda? Second by Jones or Wright. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? All right, so we'll have that added, and then this is a handout from
What did you say, put that?
13B.
You said move it up, right?
We'll move it up. It's just for Slayton to put it on 13B.
So
This
what
is
is the
the
grant called?
Bearcat. Well, actually, the title of the grant is Homeland Security Grant for fiscal year 2023. That's the service caption.
And they want to use it for the Bearcat.
Okay, that's the intent of it.
Department of the Military?
I'm sorry.
I'll talk about that later. I just saw something.
The amount? Yeah.
This.
Oh, yeah.
Military.
All right, so here's the email that was sent to me by Chief Potts explaining what's his discussion for EMS pay. So we'll go over that when we get down to the bottom. All right. If nobody has any objections, we'll go ahead and approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We've got a motion, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, approval of the minutes, February 5th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Motion, Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Harris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Who's not here?
Okay, so Commissioner Janone would like to be an abstention due to absence. Recognition of the public, we do have 3 that signed up to speak. EMS pay study. So Brad Williams, when you come up, you'd state your name and address, and then we will give you time to speak.
All right. Brad Williams, 1916 Highway 31W, White House. I know this isn't really question and answer time, but I'm here to address the formula. I've got the presentation made for the funding formula for volunteers. Just curious if I'd be able to speak at the time of the presentation, or just do it now and get it over with.
No, you can go ahead now, sir.
Go ahead and get it over with. Gotcha. Here's your copy, sir. You weren't here earlier. So just a real
Stuck in
quick
traffic
summary.
on 386, but go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just a real quick summary of what we're looking for. If we're looking for two things. One, a contract system that would guarantee us a payment for us, for the volunteers, for multiple years. That serves two purposes, really. The first one is to relieve all liability from the county. Signing a contract would just be like getting a printer serviced here in your county building. You sign off with us, it waives all liability from you, says we will get a payment of whatever dollars that we would associate with. And again, remove y'all from liability. If it stayed in there, y'all have nothing to do with it, you're just giving a donation. Second thing it would do is allow our volunteer departments to get a finance for fire trucks, apparatuses, whatever they may need, buildings. Because right now, I know Tab here can tell you for Highland, trying to apply for a financing through a bank right now, unless you have funding that's guaranteed for at least a couple years, they won't even look at you. They don't equate donations to be from the citizens to be any kind of funding that's guaranteed, and as well as your payment. Because any year you can just cut us without mention, it wouldn't matter. And so they won't finance us to buy any apparatuses, and some of the county fire trucks are getting extremely old. I know most of us are running trucks anywhere from 20 to 30 to 35 years old, and they are way out of date. So that's the first thing. Second thing is the funding formula. We're just trying to make it a little bit fair. I have all kinds of handouts for you to show you how much population some of us are carrying, how many square miles some of us are covering. Right now we're getting 24,000 per station flat, no matter what size you're carrying. And it's a little unfair. You got some that are getting 24,000 that are covering twice as much property and value as other properties. So again, I have a lot of information I can give. I have handouts. I've got a poster here, if you allow me to speak later, that would lay a lot more of this out, and I can get a little more time to speak to you, but I won't take up all your time.
Good. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Will we have time to see these maps at some point?
Yeah, I mean, if it's, once we get through public comments, if it's, I mean, it's a topic on the agenda.
Thank you.
We will go into discussion on some things.
Sure, absolutely. Tab, Matthew, sorry, Assistant Chief Matthew.
I won't do that. Tab Matthews, 110 Wheeler Street, Portland. I'm the Assistant Chief of Highland Volunteer Fire. You know, I know funding is a touchy subject and it's important. As volunteer fire departments, we rely on county funding to operate. I know my department, we're a little bit of an oddball for the 3 stations, so our funding's a little higher, but we try to be good shepherds with our funding. But I like to tell my guys, you know, when we have money, that we're one repair bill away from being broke, and that's what we are. With our funding and the way our donations work, and the way the funding comes in, if one of our trucks goes down, they're not easy to fix, they're not cheap to fix, and you know, $20,000 repair bill, that's a pretty huge impact on our budget. So, you know, I believe education is key. As Brad mentioned, you know, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I know we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work to go. When I first started in this business 20 years ago, I think we only got about $5,000 from the county. So we've really improved since then. But in order to adequately operate and serve the constituents that we cover, we've got some work to do. We've got a long way to go. We like to give back to our volunteers. We have, our roster's 25 volunteers, and we run calls, we do trainings, we help EMA do the searches and all that, and we really can't give back to them the way we feel like we should. Taking the time away from their families and all. So I encourage y'all to contact us. Each individual fire department has its own needs. Our needs at Highlands are different from White Houses, which are different from Oak Groves. It's kind of unique, so we'd be more than happy to answer any questions, explain what our goals are, explain what our needs are. I just want to thank y'all for taking the time to attempt to look at helping us out more, and we look forward to working with you guys and the budget committee and other commissioners as time moves on. So, thank you.
All right. Kevin Baker.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for adding the EMS study to the agenda and putting that information in there. First of all, I'd like to thank all you people, especially the volunteers that went out and hunted for that young boy. And it's sad we haven't found him yet, and hopefully we will. I appreciate you all. And, you know, I hear some of the previous comments, and I think about over the last 8 years what I've heard. There was a study supposedly done a couple of years back to look at fire departments and what we were going to pay for the volunteers over the last 2 years, and I think the chairman at the time kind of let that die. And I think we need to bring that back up and really put in a serious effort, do some benchmarking, best practices across the country if that's what it takes. But these people need to be recognized for what they do. But the other thing that I'd like to talk about is the EMS study. Again, I think it was 2016, there was a member on this committee that sat here and heard it, talk about a EMS salary study. I bet the commissioner remembers that. And I bet you could probably recant the discovery that we found, that basically our worker bees were underpaid and our top brass was overpaid. We paid an outside third party to come in and do that. 2 years later, nothing had been resolved, went through the same exercise, and guess what the conclusion was? The same problem. So I sympathize, and I do. We're trying to hire people to come into a very stressful position. Sitting behind a desk is a lot less stressful than going out there riding on a rig, going to a crash scene. I've done it for 30 years. When I was a volunteer up in Connecticut, I did it. The worker bees need to be appreciated. We can't just look at, though, paying them more without looking at the cost of the entire thing, including, we have now a private ambulance service operating in Sumner County. What percentage of the gravy calls are they taking that we could be getting to use that to augment our finances to pay our worker bees? And I say that in all utmost respect. The people that actually do the heavy lifting need to be recognized, and they need to be paid appropriately. But we need to look at the whole system, because if we've got a private ambulance service operating here, somebody needs to include that in the equation. There's money going away that it's probably going through our fingers that we could be gathering and using some of that to pay. And so we rotate people onto a less stressful, more stressful kind of operation. But anyhow, so thank you. I appreciate you taking this up, and look forward to hearing about it.
He's got it down to a science. He knows how long. All right, so if there's no objection from committee, we'll move the new edition of 13B up, and we'll hear from Director Widener. If there's no objection to that, and then we'll go ahead and go with the report to the chairs and everyone else. Director Widener.
I'm sorry, you want to report it? You want to report?
You can do the report in the Bearcat, and then we'll let you loose.
Well, I'll start you off with my report. So we, today, after 8 days of searching, we made the decision to, we have not stopped, but we scaled way back because we have literally pounded a 5-mile area up there. So we've been underground with cameras in all the culverts. We've been in caves. We got horses, helicopters, fixed wing planes, searchers from across the state, divers. We've pumped ponds. We've done everything we know to do, and we've actually done some case study on other cases like this with 14-year-old individuals that walked away, and we're using that as for some of the decisions we make and the characteristics of what they do. And so we've been to the lake in all the streams and creeks in the watershed from Tyree down, and we've had contact with the family every day, and gotten information from them in regards to what Sebastian might do, and if he's there, we've missed him, but I don't. It'll take us a while to extrapolate all the information from the search tool that we use, which tracks all of our searchers. We actually crashed the system 3 days ago, And they called me out of California, and they told us they were gonna do some things, and told my operations chief, Mickey, what to do to make some changes. But the first 2 days, we did 2,000 miles of searching on foot, the search of these guys. The guys from across the state, the girls from across the state, K-9, we rotated K-9 on both scene specific, live track, and cadaver. We've done all of it. So today, Chief Craddock and I made the decision after he's talked to his team, I talked to my team, to scale back. So we've got a command post that's still at Shackle on fire. And let me tell you all this: we destroyed the lot, their driveway. We're going to fix it. I've got some money in seed and fertilizer. We're going to fix it. We're going to seed it. I talked to Toby Ellis today, and we're going to pay for gravel he's going to take the grader in and get the drive fixed back like it was before we got there. We've been going in every day cleaning up the station and the command post, and it just gets a mess again. We'll have a total number on people, but one day we had our largest day was 330 searchers, and that number's going to be well over 1,000, Mickey, probably over 1,000. We'll put together miles, man hours, and a lot of other stuff. But the map, we actually have a map of our search area that goes by day. So day 1 through day 8, and you can see the work that was done each day, and then we'll do a composite of everything. And quite honestly, we've talked to a lot of other professionals, and they're like, guys, you've done everything you do. So we made the decision today to scale down, and we're not going to stop. And the investigation continues, and that's where we're at on that. If anybody has any questions.
Job well done to y'all and your team out there. That command post was pretty impressive. All right, so with no objections, we'll go ahead and go into the contract here. My understanding, this is the approval of which we did several months ago, and this is the contract. We was awarded the contract. We was awarded the grant. So. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to apologize for the way this came about. Last week, when this all came down, and we quite honestly, from Monday through Friday, we got about 6 hours sleep in that period of time. And when my contact with the state said it's here, we need to act on it quickly to get it back, and I made a call to a friend of mine at TEMA, and I asked if they could try to get this pushed through a little bit, because we'd like to try to get it through the commission in this fiscal year, because the build time on this piece of equipment's a year, and this was actually produced quicker than I thought it was. So I was thinking I didn't think I would be requesting tonight, and then when we got this and we got this county attorney's approval tonight, I called Mr. Chairman and I asked if we could put it on. I apologize for that, but that's the way it has happened, and it's been quite a trying week and a day, so I apologize for that. Thank you.
So the reply back was from legal. It's a standard state contract. And that he was good to go with it and to go forward. So here we are. So we'll have a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and start some discussion. Motion with Commissioner Harris, second with Commissioner Wright. Questions, comments, concerns?
I haven't had time to finish reading it.
Sure.
So it's too quick for me. I need more time to read through it. So I can't support. I mean, I agree with Terry. I remember when he came and we talked about it and we agreed on it and all that, but he wasn't sure he was gonna get it. And this came in today, and I understand where he's been. He's been busy. But I think if it's gonna take a year to build it, maybe we could bring it back next month where we have a lot of time to read over it, and then we can get him squared away in April.
Good.
With all respect, I think you're missing his point. He wanted to get in before fiscal year end so that it could be built for the next year. And be
Fiscal year ends when?
March 31st, right? Oh, ours is June, right?
Yeah. So,
So it's different fiscal year. I'm torn between this. I was thinking it was March also, but I understand his reasoning. We did a lot of work to try to get these grants to not come at us at the last second in other committees over this last year, or at least 6 months. And I hate getting hit with something at the last second. I need some more convincing that this is a necessity to do tonight versus let us read it actually and hear some opinions from people that have other knowledge on contractual law and things like that. Because I know the public asked for transparency in this process too, to see if there were strings attached, things like that. I don't know enough about it to make an educated decision on whether or not this is something to push through after just being handed a piece of paper, tonight. So I'm hesitant. I'm not saying I'm a no vote on it. I just don't like being rushed on something like this.
my question is, in relationship to what he said as far as the public being aware of it being on the docket, but also, it's really not an emergency. We know he needs it, but it's not an emergency, right? So would it be more prudent for us to give the public notice, give us time to read it, and that way I didn't have a problem with it before, but I have a problem because I haven't never read this. And I didn't see it earlier, and I understand he's been busy, but I still think we owe it to the public to be able to read it over, and the other commissioners can read it over and give us the time to kind of talk about it.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes, I'm
Oh, go ahead, I'll finish it up.
What's changed since the last time this was brought up? I mean,
Nothing that I know of, we've already went through the process. I think this is just the seal that finishes it out. And legal's looked at it, and legal said there's nothing that he would change.
right.
So,
And he is our attorney, and he suggested that there's nothing that you would change, correct? So I don't know what the problem is that we can't go forward with this, other than just because you can. I mean,
So, my point last time we went through it is I wanted to read the grant. And we didn't last time. I don't think we got the grant. We were going to, but we never read it. Last time I think we approved for you to go ahead and apply for the grant. And then we'd see the grant papers. And that's where we're at, and it's a good place. And I just haven't had time to see them. But if I may ask Mr. Widener a question. So I was wondering about the fiscal year and where your concern is about getting in the fiscal year. Because I don't understand if it
It's more so to try to
falls.
get it built. It's gonna take a year to build it.
It's just you want, the sooner we can approve it, the sooner you
The
can get
sooner
it.
they start the build.
I understand.
And the resolution that.
So the fiscal year,
I'm sorry?
the fiscal year doesn't really,
I'm just saying in this fiscal year, and I probably should have just said it as quickly as we could, but that was probably a poor choice of words. But this is the same contract that you approved last year for the 22 grant with a different total on it. The same 8-page document. So, and we've already, the resolution and the item and based on what my discussion with Mr. Sittler is that they're not gonna change that contract for a county
Yeah.
commissioner. They're not gonna change it,
no. And if I can, I don't want, I want time to review it.
but like I say, it's the same thing you voted on at 22 with a different total on it. Same contract, the same grant, the same contract, we used to do them every year.
and we've already sent a resolution to the state saying we sponsor and fully agree with what we've got here. Commissioner Wright?
The end of next month, the largest mass murder in Tennessee's history. And go ahead and go, you wasn't there. I was.
I'm not huffing, I was taking a deep breath.
One of the biggest gripes that I got and received whenever we had our first debriefing, and Ken, you were there, some of the rest of y'all were there too. One of the guys got up and he said, if you're gonna ask us to do our GD job, give us the equipment to do it with. And I know most of y'all will support this, or I hope you do. You just wanna look over the contract, and I understand that. But I responded as a negotiator last month to Cummins Lane. And Ken, you were there with that one. And he had racked rounds off, hadn't he? We could've used the Bearcat then, couldn't we? When you're standing out there in the wide open, folks, and people racking rounds off, unless you've been there and done that, and some of you have, you don't know what it's like. And all they're asking, it's the same thing that we've already voted on and agreed upon. All they're asking is just give us the equipment to do our jobs. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, so, I mean, I think that here's where I'm at. I think this committee can go ahead and send it forward. We're gonna have a budget to talk about it, review it, and then we've got full commission to talk about it and review it. And that doesn't hold up forward progress, if you will, for playing sports or strategy. It just keeps everything moving forward. So I think for time's sake, and if we're trying to be transparent and moving forward and less bureaucratic form of government, here's our chance. We've already passed the resolution. We've already sent it to the Department of Homeland Security. It's already there and it's in place. Commissioner Jones?
Could I ask Mr. Sidler a question?
Sure.
Do you see anything in the form of strings that would be stop signs for places of hesitations of things that you heard in our discussion back several months ago when we first talked about this, that we should be aware of that we weren't aware then of? I understand what you said, same contract then as before, but you've had longer to familiarize yourself with the previous one and possibly this one. Do you see anything that would be strings attached from federal point of view or state?
No, this is a state grant contract I see all the time. As a matter of fact, there's very little I could do to change it. Their response would simply be, you don't get the money. So, plus their provisions mirror ours anyway, so there's usually not any pushback I've got to give them. So I viewed this more as a grant oriented document. I don't really focus on what it's going to be used for. I leave that up to the commission. I feel like that's out of my purview. But for the contract, the terms of the contract, they're satisfactory.
So the discussions that we had back when this was first talked about getting the contract, people were making amendments as to what they would like to see the vehicle used for and things like that. Is that all going to be hashed out again now that we have this?
That's a commission item. That with me, it's the money issue that comes through the contract. That's all this is they're going to give us the funds. How you all choose to use it becomes a debate of its own. It's not a legal question at that time.
Okay.
Unless you force it into one, but.
I mean, I'm okay with proceeding. I mean, we're gonna have another week to look at it for budget, and then another week after that to look at it for commission. I know this is all gonna be debated and talked about again anyway. So.
Commissioner Harris?
Call for question.
Question's been called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Are we,
2 noes.
are we voting on call to question or the?
Correct.
What's the question?
Call to question?
Oh,
No.
call the question, yes.
No.
Sorry.
Voting for calling the question.
What's the question?
Just
What's
To
the
stop
question?
to
stop
stop
discussion.
discussing.
do we want to
So
stop?
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so, we've got a motion and a second on the floor, push it through to approval, before we go through the budget. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
No.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
2 noes?
Haven't read the strings to it, so.
Fair enough. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Chairman
We
Rogers.
just
Yes.
moved on.
Vice Chairman Jerome.
Sorry,
Yes,
are you
sir.
coming in? No.
Commissioner Boyd.
No,
Commissioner Bergdorf.
No.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
4 yes, 3 no.
All right, we'll proceed on. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
get some rest.
Sleep well.
Thanks, Ken.
All right. Report of the chairman, I don't have a report. Report of the county mayor?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Report of the sheriff, Chief Craddock did advise me they wasn't gonna be here. Obviously, we all know what and where they're doing. Report of EMS?
Good evening. Everybody should have their packet. Top page there is the standard calls versus transports for the month of February. The second page is just a breakdown of those calls based on the station. Third is the out of county versus other agencies or counties responding into Sumner County. So if you look at February, Robertson, we responded into Robertson County 7 times and Davidson County once. Responding into Sumner County, Robertson County responded 37 times into the county. The next 3 pages, I believe, is just the CAD breakdown of call types and gets a kind of more detailed of every call that we ran that month. And I've lost track of my pages here, but after that is our EMS revenue. So you see February's revenue, $531,385. Keep in mind that February does have 2 less days and that kind of thing. So we did get our kicker payment from TennCare, but we have not received all of that yet, so that should be in March's revenue. The next page is all the charges for the month of February. The page after that is everything from August 1st until the end of February. So that's got, I call it our fiscal, or our revenue year rather. Our fiscal year starts in July, but our revenue starts in August. So it's got that information for you. The next page you see there is credits. It's all the payments. That is the breakdown of the payments that we received, or that EMSMC received. And you will notice that there is a difference in between what I've reported to you and what's on here. That's because they may have gotten in and posted payments on the 29th, but it didn't hit the county's bank.
Trying to see what page we're on.
It is the, probably easier to go from the back, 3rd page from the back. I apologize, I should have numbered these, handwritten them or something. But it's, the top of its credit is typed summary report deposit date. But yeah, some of that deposit there, they could have worked it on the 29th and then it hit our bank on the 1st, so that money will be in March's.
So this is the cash flow?
That is the payments that they received, yes. So then, if you flip over to the next page, you have all the payments from August 1st until February 29th to get our revenue cycle. Then the last page is our AR report, so you can keep up with how our AR is going and see what we have out there. All right. Thank you.
Expenses.
I don't have them.
Sorry.
Can you talk to us?
We can ask that. Here's that.
Calls you had,
Mhm.
overdoses, were those actual deaths or were they just overdoses?
They're just counted as overdoses.
Okay.
So as far as what the outcome is, that is what it came into the ECC as, would be an overdose.
And the suicides are those, you're not breaking all that down. The reason I'm asking for it.
No, it's not broken down as far as, if it's a suicide call that comes in, it's just put in as suicide. So if it was
No end result.
a transport or if it was a, dead on arrival, those aren't broken down because that's just straight from the call, what the call taker's taking from the PCC. And I have given the new guy in finance, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. I did give him information reports for that.
Last month I asked about expenses. So I did get some expenses from Mr. Long. So I did get some expenditures. I didn't know, I didn't see any in here.
You said you were gonna get them from Mr. Long.
Yeah, I
so we
did.
didn't
So
do
I
it.
didn't know, and I printed this one sheet and I can pass it around.
Do we want that added to the monthly report?
Yes. Well, this is, I just wanted to tell you what it was, or I wanted to share with the committee.
Do you have copies?
I don't, that's what I'm trying to say, and that's.
We have to
what-
take that with us and get that back to you every month.
So maybe we can, yeah, maybe we can, it's just, I can tell you what your, for 2023, your total revenue was basically 9.2 million, and your expenses were 12.2 million. So we ran a deficit of 4.6 million for 23.
It's not like 3.
I'm sorry?
9 to 12?
Yeah, so in 2023, our revenue that we recorded on the financials were 9.2 million. And our expenditures were 12.2 million. So that was a difference of 4.6 million. And I wanted to talk to Mr. Long and get some more information. I was hoping maybe y'all had some. I think that is, he has on here that your health benefits were charged back to the department. So I don't know if that's included in this or separate.
I'm not
So
sure what you're
that's
looking at.
about, we're looking at about a 67% coverage of the EMS facility with your revenues. Does that sound right?
So the math I just did is about $3 million between,
Yes, so what's he got here? Oh, it's the ARPA. Oh, I'm sorry. In addition to that was the ARPA payments.
okay.
So he pulls them over here. I'm
So-
sorry.
So you ended up at about 4.6 million?
Right. Does
Right.
that sound about?
So we operate 13 24-hour ALS ambulances, 24/7, 365, and 5 or 6 BLS ambulances, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week for that 4.6 billion. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So anyways, I am looking at, you told me to go get them from him, so I'm starting to work on that. So I'm sure he can share, and y'all can have them too, and we can all discuss them.
Sounds good.
Can we get that added to the monthly report now that?
This is what
we
this
have a
is, and
table?
I can pass this around. What it shows is from 2010 all the way to 2023, and it's an analysis. I'm sorry that I don't have.
I'll be
a
more
copy.
happy if.
Take it with us.
Yeah,
So
finance.
that's something we wanna look at.
Can you have-
Reproduce that
Later,
every
or look
month
at
for me, I'll be more than happy to bring it.
It's my only copy.
Screenshot.
Yeah. Yes, let me do that. I'm
She-
sorry.
They can, you
I'll
can,
scan
they
it with my
can.
phone.
And I thought that, thank you, ma'am.
Is that something we want to add annually to our report?
We
or
need to
monthly?
get more
Just
detail.
curious, is this the only department we're gonna do income and expense statements every month?
Well, we get
I mean,
presented
Should we do that in
revenue.
general ops for planning and zoning and building and codes and, I mean, I'd be happy to bring one from my office too.
I've
But why do
asked,
we
this is
pick
the
one
6th month
department
I've
to do
asked
income
about
and expense?
expenditures.
It just, it seems unnecessary.
So this is a business that we run.
Okay.
We run an ambulatory business. We talk
Every
about
department's a
revenue.
business.
No, we have revenue and we have expenditures, we have accounts receivable, and we talk about accounts receivable and we talk about their business. But that, I'm sorry, I just trying to understand the expenses.
All right.
Thank you.
I would apologize.
Report of the ECC.
Bear with me just a second, let me bring it back up here. Calls for service in February, law enforcement, 13,478, fire, 1,983, EMS, 2,067, 911 calls, 3,913, and then administrative calls, 13,049 for the month of February. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question for you. You had talked about a new person over there for the director last, did you
I
get a
haven't
new
talked about
director?
one. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, one of the,
New ECC director.
Yeah, there was you were looking at interviewing a new person from Florida and that didn't work out. Did you?
Yeah, we have an interim in there right now.
Okay, you were training them. Okay, I was just wondering who that was, because you never mentioned it. And
Amy Simpson, the
Amy Simpson.
deputy director right now. Yep.
How's she coming along?
She's doing fine.
All right. Old business, volunteer fire department funding. We have someone have a motion or a second to hear that.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Harris, you want to do a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. So we'll have it for discussion. The committee wants to suspend the rules to hear Brad, sorry, from White House.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. I spoke really fast earlier, trying to get a lot of information out in a really short amount of time. But I I think everybody a handout. If you didn't get one, let me know. I'll be sure to get you one. One thing I'm not shy about is information. I know I've emailed probably all of you multiple times this week with all kinds of stuff. A lot of it is in this packet, just to make it nice and simple. And I'm not going to read every little thing on here, but I really want to make sure everybody understands what we're asking for. I know one thing this committee and Mr. Rogers talks about all the time is, you're not here to approve of actual all of the numbers. You want to see if it's a necessity, if it's necessary for us to have this. So that's really what I want to focus on. The contracts, I think, is one of the biggest things and why we want that. And I, again, rambled off really quick, but just a real quick recap. Contracts will eliminate your liability as long as Mr. Sittler there agrees. I can't say eliminate, but I'm going to say really reduce anything that you may think you have now. So I know there was questions last year about if you fund over 50% of our total budget, that it puts y'all at a greater liability. In all of my research, and all of our research, and everything I've looked at, talking to C-Task, I cannot find one example of that so far. And even when I was talking to Mr. Lowen about it, it was a friend told him one time at a place he used to work at. So I haven't found any precedent for that. But even if there is a precedent, the contracts would cover that. And there is precedent for that. I know it's used in Robertson County, Bedford County, Rutherford County, and a few others. I have a copy of the contract in here of something I'd like to look at. I have sent a copy to Mr. Sittler. I know he was looking at it. I don't know if he's finished or not. It's on page 3. It says volunteer agreement at the very top. Again, I'm not going to read it, but the TCA codes are listed in there of how you can fund us and how it's legal. And to the amount you can fund us is whatever your heart desires. The first little page there is just a quick scenario of why we're asking for this, why we need it. Again, it's just more reviewing, so I don't have to sit up here and repeat myself a whole lot. And y'all can go back and listen to me and not have to remember me, because God knows when I want to watch a video of me talking a whole lot. After the contract, it goes on. It says one says executive summary at the very top. What this is, a real quick 4 pages from our CTAS report that the other speaker, Mr. Baker, spoke about earlier. It's 106 pages long. I grabbed 4 quick pages. And in this, it talks about specific needs that our fire department would have. Also organizational structures of things the county should look at. And on there, it's also about our funding, I think, on the 4th page. In that funding area, it talks a lot about funding formulas and different ways you can do it. Now, there are 3 things in here that I know some of y'all don't like the word fire tax, and that is in here, but we don't address it. That's not us. We don't care. It's like the first option. It's not our option. So don't pay attention to it, but it is in here. But the biggest thing we want to look at is nonprofit donations, which is what we have been doing. But we want to change the way we do it. Instead of just giving $24,000 per station, which is our current structure, along with a overall, I think it's $138,000 that you give all the departments that it's our job to split. We'd like to bring all that together and put it in a funding formula. And what that means is, and there's a copy of it, it's the last thing on this page, the last thing in the packet. What the funding formula does is whether you have 1 station, whether you have 3 stations, it divvies out the money by how many square miles you cover and how many millions of dollars in property values you protect. Because we do have some stations that are very tight-knit, for instance, number 1, which is out there in the peninsula and Hendersonville. It's a very tight-knit zone. I think it's 5 miles in total. Do not quote me on that. But they protect one of the highest amounts of value of homes there is, which again is listed in this on that last page. Then you got ones like Highland. Highland has 3 stations. They have a lot of square mileage, but it's also a little sparsely populated. So they still need a lot of funding, but their needs are different than number 1's. I'll get it. I got it, Mayor's. So what we have here is a little bit of an issue. When you got somebody like number 1's who protects all these homes and all these millions of dollars, but they're only getting $24,000 a year, then where you have Highland has 3 stations, the same a little bit less in value, a lot more in square mileage. It's just a large discrepancy. And so we're just trying to even the playing field. And on that formula, if you notice, one of the last lines, if you look at the total, I know Ms. Boyd's a numbers lady, and she's just looking over that best destroyed it best you can.
I do have some questions.
That's okay, I'm here for it. The last number is like 700,000 and some change. That number can be whatever we need it to be. That is just how the formula worked out for the way it was done in 2018. This formula is actually out of date. So if you gave us a number, whether it's the same 450,000 we're getting now, whether it's $1 million, we can plug it into this formula and divvy out the money appropriately. So just because we change the funding structure does not necessarily mean you have to increase the funding, although that will be something that we do approach in budget as well. But I hope with all this you can really see the need for it. It may not be exactly perfect. I know there's a lot of questions which we're happy to answer, but there is definitely a need for these 2 things. And before I get ask a lot, I do have a large map here. I didn't have time to throw together a PowerPoint. I know how much y'all love maps.
Hey Brian, this is
Oh, that's right, Curtis. I'm sorry. Thank you. If I could hang it up, I would. But just to give you an example, if you don't mind the lights right here. I won't put it up. But this is our fire zones that we have here. Oh, poster board, thank you. You can see how our fire zones are all broke out. Just to give you a quick example, up here in the top, there's $106 million in property values right there here. Is that Highland? Yeah, that's Highland. And they cover 53 square miles. If you go down here to that 5-mile area I told you about, number 1's fire department on the peninsula, 5.8 square miles. Very tight. They protect $135 million worth of property. So what that's telling you is, I'll get there. And what that's telling you is those structures they're protecting are larger, they burn hotter, there's different equipment that they need to fight this. They may not need 3 stations, but the amount of stuff that they are protecting in the houses and how dense it's all packed doesn't mean that their needs are less. That's fine. And this is yours to have. I'm gonna make a prettier copy and PDF file and email it to you. That way it's not just, we got this about 30 minutes ago. So, but all these numbers are also in that formula. It's just not as pretty as, Kurtz's handwriting.
Now, this is just for the volunteers.
These are just volunteers.
I have a map you can have already laminated, got all your stations on it, and you know what you have.
I actually have a copy. I just want to make a smaller copy. Something on PDF where I can send it easy. He might need it. The other thing, along with those formulas, I had it and I lost it. Oh, cities. You asked about that. So we have one department that is a city as well as responds in the county area. Mitchell, right, or Westmoreland? Westmoreland. In that formula, how that would figure is only the county numbers would factor into this formula. So none of their city stuff would plug in. They would not receive a dime for any of those inside the city limits. Would only count outside of their city limits. That way you don't mix city and county stuff. So they would figure in the same way. And I'm open for any questions you may have.
I know when I talked to you, you talked about Gallatin. Gallatin has 2.
Gallatin Community.
Community.
Yes.
Yeah, because they have their own fire department.
They do.
City, but we also have Gallatin Community has 2 fire stations. Right?
They do, and right now they're only being funded for 1. They're the only one like that, and no one can really tell me why that I found so far. But that again is another reason why we're trying to equalize this out, make it a little more fair. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry, not my job.
I'm gonna address the chair first. He may be able to answer it, and if
Of course.
if he wants to go with you, then I want an answer that way. It's my understanding that when we approve funding for them, we do it with the appropriation we get to the charitable contributions. And we do that to the organization of the volunteer fire department. They split it the way they want to split it. Is that not correct?
No, I believe when we first took office, that was the whole fiasco, if you will, for lack of a better term, of a show that each agency was given, well, there's two pots. You've got 24,000 per station is normally what we give, is typically give, historically give. And then there's another pot, and Brad, you said it, well, I think it's
138,000.
138,000. And that's the one where all the chiefs get together and they decide how they want that dispersed.
Okay.
And then finance.
That's what I was
deals with
thinking. That was
Yes,
done
just
with
that
everything.
small pot.
No, I agree with that. I don't understand which way is the best way to figure the formula. Is it per person? Is it per value of the house? And for the population size and things like that. And I don't know where the fairness is, but I agree that definitely needs to be looked at because the blanket 24,000 per station does not seem right or fair.
Commissioner Harris.
Do you have any idea what your ISO rating is?
I know what almost everybody's ISO rating is.
Could you explain ISO, please, just for
That was
the
gonna be
public
my
and everybody?
question. Could you give us a good ISO? And then what's the slash?
The slash is usually if you're within 1,000 foot of a hydrant or within 5 miles of a fire station. So if you're a 5/7, then that means if you're within 1,000 foot of a fire hydrant, you are a class 5. If you're outside of that, but you're still within your 5 miles, that would make you a 7.
5 or 7 what?
Yeah.
That is just the rating that an insurance company uses to
Again, what
determine
is
your
an
insurance.
ISO?
Absolutely, I'm sorry. ISO is the standard that an insurance company uses to determine what your insurance rate will be.
Insurance
Insurance
standard.
services, it's the Insurance Services Organization. Because there's two, you've got international ISO standards.
Gotcha.
And that has nothing to do with this. This ISO, from this perspective, is Insurance Services Organization. And they're a private organization that the insurance companies pay to do the evaluations of the fire departments and provide this rating. And then the insurance company uses those ratings to determine your premium.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
I just need to know the acronym
And
because.
Brad, it's not necessarily the fire hydrant, it's the 5 miles that gets the split. The fire hydrant does fit in there.
All right, let's bring it back into the table, because this will go out, we got 47 conversations around me, and it's driving me up the wall. Commissioner Boyd?
So with the ISO, I have had a class on ISO and I found it very interesting.
It is.
Could you remind me and bring to us, which do we want, the smaller number or the bigger number?
You want the smaller.
Okay, so when we're at a 9, for the ones that don't have a fire hydrant within 500 feet, did I get?
Well, 1,000, but or outside that 5 miles.
9, I find that concerning. Is that concerning to y'all, or?
It is, but we don't have as many of those anymore, but that's one reason we included them in the formula, is because right now it's really hard to bring your ratings up with certain things. So if you have outdated trucks, personnel, equipment, training records, time for training, computerized records, hydrant maintenance, hose maintenance. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into those ISO ratings that honestly a lot of the departments can't afford to even work on that to get those ratings down. So one of the reasons it's included is because if we are able to increase the funding for the volunteer fire departments and bring that number, and the guys can do what they need to do to bring that rating down, what you're going to spend per person, per citizen inside Sumner County will actually be offset tremendously by their ISO rating and their insurance premiums. So for the person in the city, in the county area, it's actually going to pay for itself rather quickly. And in one of those, not to distract from the formula, but in one of those handouts I gave you, it actually shows how much Sumner County is spending per person in the county. And right now we're spending $6 per year per person for fire service. If you look at the next closest person, or next closest county to us, I think it's $19 or $20 per person in the county. But that's all in there in one of those forms. Just again, more nighttime reading for you.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any idea what funding Robertson County is giving their volunteer service at this time?
It's in there.
Do you have any idea what Wilson County is doing with their volunteers?
That's also, I think that one's in there. I may deleted it because
You
it
got
was
Wilson
massive.
County in there also?
No, I think I took that one out because it was large. WEMA is its own thing. EMA has
They also have some-
EMS, and fire all in together.
Yeah, I used to, that's where I started out at.
I think was 18 million, Curtis?
Yes, it's 18 million.
18 million is what they spend on there, but that is EMS, fire, and EMA all together. So that they are slightly different. That's what we took out of our records.
Which one?
So with Wilson County, I found out recently, it was very interesting. So they do not have a fire tax over there. What I was told by CTASC is Wilson County, they have put a special tax on sales in the county, and that goes to pay for their services. That's different from some of the other counties that you see. So I found that very interesting. I wanted to bring it to y'all for information.
Well,
Because
that-
it was intriguing to me.
You talking about the fire tax?
No, she's
It's-
talking about
it's
a
a
portion
fire
of
tax.
sales.
No, it's a sales tax only in the county, is how it's been explained to me. And then they use those funds. And that way they don't double tax the municipals.
And there lies the problem.
All right, so anybody else got any more questions, concerns?
Nothing, I was just.
I will tell you before I leave that formula was written by CTASC. That's where it came from. It's not something homegrown. That's the formula right now used in Robertson County, just made to fit Sumner County, but it was written by them.
And the only thing I would say is it doesn't tell me, if I'm judging these facilities just based on, one, on the value of the homes they're serving, I want them to serve a home that's worth put out the fire at the $100,000 home at the same,
Oh, we do.
it's gonna be, but it's gonna cost you the same resources probably, or maybe.
It does, it's averaged out, so no matter which home we go to, it's just an easy way to figure out the property values without getting all the property. So, the best way I was talking to a guy about it was, we're not trying to figure all the open land, all the farmland that's out there, that's not included in the equation. It's only improved property values, which means homes that are built. So I'm not protecting 100 acres, not charging for 100 acres. I'm just charging for the $100,000 home, the $300,000. It's not really a charge. It's just a way to figure it up even. Yes, sir.
Is there anything in there that incentivizes the people with the high dollar homes to donate to the volunteer fire departments because they bought property out in the county that doesn't have service? And I don't understand why the value of their home would be a consideration in the formula. They did that to themselves. And the focus should be on saving lives and responding to get to a home. I don't care if it's a trailer, if it's a mansion. The value of the home, I don't think should be considered in this, because that should make them want to donate to their local volunteer fire departments.
I can tell you about that quickly, is you're right. Whether it's $1 million home or a shack on the corner, we fight every fire the same. The reason it's figured on property values, and he can tell you if I'm wrong, because he put this in initially in Robertson County, is a lot of the money that comes from the counties come from property taxes. And so that just makes an easy way to figure out how to divvy up certain things. Because I don't know of another number that we can pull that says, okay, we're gonna.
If I could push back on that before I lose my train of
Absolutely,
thought on
go
that. So the property taxes aren't for fire protection.
Absolutely not.
So why would that be used to measure how much you give back to them for fire protection?
We're not.
It's a pure donation. It has nothing to do with how nice their home is.
Absolutely, but it has nothing to do with that. We're just trying to figure a way to put a number on the donations that we receive from the county.
I think that's done by how many homes there are then, not the size or the value of the home.
Well, I definitely agree with you, but if you have $1 million home, fire spreads faster. It takes more resources to fight Walmart than it does a shed. And so that's where we pull that number, is because if $1 million house burns, that's 14,000 square feet. It's gonna take every fire department in the county, volunteer-wise, to get enough personnel and all to attack that fire. If it's a shack, one engine with 2 guys can put that fire out. So it's a lot about just figuring out that number to help us be able to pay for the equipment to put that fire out. Because we don't care what size home it is, we're gonna respond. But I just don't know of another way to do that, and we can't force people to donate. We've tried. That's why Sumner County has been doing all this time, is we're gonna give you a little bit, but really heavily relies on donations. And honestly, our costs, everything we're doing, is just gotten past that point to where we can't rely on that. We can't finance fire trucks on donations. We can't make people give us money. But the people who are moving here and that are moving to the county, they rely on us every day.
I understand where you're coming from. I say that to partly educate the public that they need to be donating to fire departments.
Absolutely,
If they want the protection, they need to help them out so they understand that we don't fund them. We make donations, charitable contributions to them. So that's why I wanted to say that. But there is some consideration for that. In the formula, I understand a little bit of that. I don't fully agree with that you got to start somewhere, but something I got to think about.
Absolutely, and I'd be happy to have a talk with you anytime we can figure this out.
Commissioner Harris.
These places in the county that we're having subdivisions built, can we not, and this is an attorney question, can we not suggest to those people, or is there a way that we can make them earmark portions of that land for future development of fire stations, or don't laugh, I mean,
I like the idea, but
it's happened.
Yeah.
Well, this leads us right into the problem that we currently have. One is you've got to either do it property tax levied by a fire tax district or situs-based revenues from the unincorporated areas of the county or revenues that have already been shared with municipalities. And I think we've got a little problem here because we've got municipalities that are also being taxed at the county rate. So the question then becomes, is their money being used to fund the volunteer fire department?
Well, tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. If it were to go to a referendum about a fire tax district, is it not true that the most populated area, say Hendersonville, would be the ones to have to vote on?
They already have a fire department.
Right, but it's still their money going to fund these folks.
That's the problem. It shouldn't be.
But it is. That's why I'm saying, there's something that I remember back when we talked about this years ago, that the most populated area in the county would have to vote to allow us to put that fire tax in the rural areas. I may be completely off on that.
The reason I don't think it could be that simple is because of the other municipalities. You're stripping away their rights to fund their own departments, and you could have a municipality issue then.
Well, look, I want to get y'all money. I do. I've been in the fire service my whole entire adult life. Started out on the volunteer ambulance service. I mean, it was so bad when I was on the volunteer ambulance service. My daughter was 6 months old, and I had to put her in a car seat, put her in the captain's chair in the back, and run calls. I did that.
So did he.
Couldn't do it today.
And no, I'd go to the penitentiary for it today.
He made calls at 4 months old.
She's probably seen more than a lot of people's ever seen at this table before in her young life. But in saying all this, I want to help these folks, and I realize where our hands are tied legally. But can we legally form an ad hoc committee to search this? And I mean, can we do that, Mr. Settler?
Let us never forget that it doesn't matter if you live in $1 million home or a $150,000 house. Your life or your family's life.
It's all about life safety. It's not property, it's life safety.
Right.
And I don't want us to get worried about property tax or what our property's worth. Because if my home burns and I'm okay, or if mom and dad's house burns down, or Lord forbid my school burns to the ground, as long as my kids aren't in there, I don't care if it costs $10 million.
Let me say this and I'll shut up.
Well,
I promise. We had one commissioner here on the county commission a few years ago that said that he didn't want the fire department to come putting his house out.
it wasn't very long ago,
No,
about 2
wait,
years
you know what I'm
ago.
talking about. He said, let it burn down. He said, that's what I pay insurance for.
Right.
Well, you know, he probably think different that if there's his child or something trapped in that house
He
or
would.
something or other, so. Anyway, like I say, it's down to life safety. It's not property value. It's not replacement value of the home. It's all about getting there to help folks in time of need. That's
Yeah.
what it's about. So,
May I address real quick, Mr. Rhodes?
Just, I've got commissioners that's been waiting, so go
I'm
ahead.
done.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
The number that you gave us, which is a kind of a ballpark,
Right.
is $784,876. Is that something that you are, in your mind, that is a ballpark for each year?
What that is right there, that is the number that we figured out, we figured on 2018 values. I think that's when that was made. So, right now, the property values in this column are gonna be much higher from 2018 to 2024. I'm actually working with the tax assessor to get those numbers right now to get them up to date. But that is much improved, what we have now, the 450 to 780. I'd take it in a heartbeat. I'd like to be somewhere in that ballpark. But again, if you put 450 in there, you put $1 million in that column, we can make it work as long as it is, to make it fit that formula.
Well, I'd like to make a comment.
Absolutely.
I think that we blow through a lot of money in the county, a lot. And $784,000 is a lot of money, but considering all the money that we blow through,
Go ahead. I'm just trying to,
all the money that the county blows through on a lot of different things, I mean, and some people will disagree with me. I mean, people disagree with me, people call me names, and people call me stuff on Facebook. I don't care. But I'm just saying that in the scheme of things, in the whole picture, and you're looking at this dollar amount for your volunteer fire departments to take care of the people out in the, because a fire tax is gonna be multiple amounts of that. And to give you that kind of funding perhaps is a lot lesser, the lesser road of resistance that it is to do a fire tax. I'm just one person, but I do think that in the scheme of things and the way things are going and the tragedies we have, based on what we spend in the county for other things, I don't see that as a big problem.
Well, thank you.
so, Brad, how did they come up with this number? Where's the, I see the 350 million, property taxes, square miles. Where's the magic? Never mind, I see
Yeah,
it right
it
here.
is totaled right here. You
Now-
use 4, you combine 2 and 3 column, 7, 5, and 6 column, and then the total is there.
Right. So now, then here's where the beef is gonna be, part of it.
Absolutely.
If we say, yeah, this is a great idea, and this is what we wanna do, and this is how we wanna give you guys your money, because I know it's coming. Are all fire chiefs in agreement with this, or is it gonna be a squabble at finance and everybody lined up out the door?
I have been kind of nominated to talk to y'all on behalf of all the fire chiefs.
Okay.
We've all made an agreement that we're happy with this. I know we've all sat in a circle together in a park and decided that this would be something we want to pursue. I know a lot of guys filled out their nonprofit requests at the beginning of the month because it was due.
Sure.
And we have amounts all the way from the normal 24,000 to 50,000 per station. It's because we all need to increase. But if you were to come to us and say, we're gonna change and do this right here at whatever valuation, we would be absolutely happy about that.
Any other questions? Commissioner Boyle?
So I'm interested in getting these ISOs down and getting more money, getting our insurance rates down, and that puts more money back into our community.
Absolutely.
But I don't like just talking about it, I like to see it.
100%.
So what I'd like to know is how can you get these ISO ratings down?
6-inch
Give
water
them
lines and
more
fire
money.
hydrant.
That's a big way. Or
I
water
did-
tank, or water
I
tankers.
have went through the class, and there are different things that we can do. And I do know that our planning committee has changed our water hydrants. There was some provisions that removed fire hydrants from our community that weren't helping our ISO. And I assume that's why I'm seeing these nines, perhaps.
Some of them, yes, ma'am.
And I would like to know, like, how many of those fire hydrants are missing that we would have put in without those planning
A lot.
regulations?
Oh, there's a lot.
And how much would that cost us, and how much money could we return? I mean, this is a lot of calculations, and
So I'll take a point there. So back in the day, this county used to take contributions to the volunteer fire departments in lieu of fire hydrants.
right.
And I'm not slamming the volunteer fire departments for
I
that.
know,
So
I know.
instead of putting a life safety device that's in the ground, let's give them money. Well, that's great, but when your surgeon goes to the operating room and you don't have a scalpel, which would be the water to do the job with, what's the money doing any good for when they ain't got a fire hydrant to turn on and get the water? So anyway, I think our county's done a disservice for a while.
I agree.
So without beating this dead horse any more than we can, I think we all understand ISO ratings. We all understand there's a need in the, go ahead, Commissioner Boyd.
Can we get numbers?
Absolutely. What kind of numbers?
How many fire hydrants did we not put in that we
So
could have
here's-
used?
here's the
And
issue
what
with
could
that.
What do we want to do? A plan, like, what do we want to do?
Well, and I like your train of thought there. So the issue with numbers is there's all kinds of water service providers throughout the county. So the numbers would have to come from the city of Gallatin, Castellan Springs, Westmoreland, city of Portland, city of White House, or White House Utilities, not city of White House, they don't like that. White House Utilities, and it would take city of Hendersonville, and it would take all of those to combine what they believe is an actual fire hydrant there. Now, I don't know about actual numbers, and I don't even know how you could see it. But there may be a way, and I hate to throw him under the bus because he's not even here. Director Guthrie may be able to print a map, may be able to show where the fire hydrants are at if they're marked in the CAT
You're
system.
probably gonna have to get those from the water districts and
Yeah.
stuff.
They are available, they're on GIS.
And that'll take you a while.
And you're looking at having to put them every 400 to 500 feet.
Yeah.
So,
That we missed out, yeah.
so.
And what's cheaper, the pump truck or the fire hydrant?
Well, pump truck ain't no good if you ain't got a fire hydrant. But
Right.
If you ain't got water lines, it's what the issue is a lot of times.
He's talking to you.
Well,
You can't put a fire hydrant on
I
the
would be,
line.
if I may, I would be in favor of more money if I could see a true plan of how the ISO ratings could go down.
So
What
you
we
giving
have-
money is gonna help your ISO rating.
Yeah.
Well, no, I wanna know what they're gonna do with it, towards,
Do
you
what?
know, to bring my ISO ratings down, like, are we gonna get more fire hydrants, we're gonna get this, or we're gonna do
So-
that? And I don't want a verbal, if you could just bring us that,
And
and then show me how much money I'm
Hold
gonna
on,
save.
hold on just a second. So the problem is these guys don't put in fire hydrants. They just try to use them, and half the time they don't even work. Poor Holland fought a fire last year, and it was, how much hose was ran on East Biggs? And the fire hydrant was like,
2,000 feet.
from here to Taft was the fire hydrant, but it don't work, and that's city, or White House Utilities. So I don't think it's fair
Yeah.
to ask them
Yeah.
what they're gonna do with, sure, they can say we're gonna buy trucks or hoses or spray nozzles
I know,
or
if they need water trucks to
SCBA's
bring
or
that
whatever.
down, if they need water trucks to bring this down, and we can see, an increase in our economy, that would be great.
So here's what I would suggest, is that idea be attached at the budget level. This point, all we need to do is say, yep, go to budget. And then at budget, they attach what the scope is of the money and what they wanna look at. Does that make sense? Commissioner Jones?
I'm just a little confused about something, and I may be not catching what you're saying, but you just said the previous commission was giving money towards the problem as opposed to fixing the problem. And is that the same thing, or tell me where
No,
I'm?
is what they was doing, they was taking money in lieu of requiring contractors to put a fire hydrant in.
So she's going down the road of looking at the fire hydrants, but
Or
you're
all-
saying push the money forward to budget. because they can't do anything with the fire.
They can't put in a fire hydrant, that's done by the utility districts.
I understand that, but are we doing the same thing the previous commission did by saying what you're saying?
No, we're telling them to buy fire trucks and fire hoses and things they need to fight fires with. And then on the planning side, whenever that comes around, we're gonna start institution of the fire hydrants, the fire hoses, the 20-foot streets,
But to me, that
Water
sounds like you
supply.
are saying, do what they were doing, but let's have a better plan going forward after that. Go ahead and approve, send the money request up to budget to get them some tankers and things like that, like the previous commission has done, but also in tangent with that, work with planning to try to get. some
that's
fire
not what the
hoses.
previous commission did.
You said they gave them money. I
No,
expected that
they
they
took-
did something with it.
When a builder went out to subdivide a subdivision, and there was no 6-inch water main coming down said road, they can make a contribution of $3,000 to that fire department of that area, instead of running a 6-inch water line and putting a hydrant there.
It's a one-time.
So we are by far going the other way
We stopped.
to get ISO ratings down,
So
saying,
that's
hey,
what you're
let's
meaning
get you
about
a
the
truck.
money- The money
Yeah.
contributed, not for things like fire stuff,
Correct.
like trucks and things like that.
Right.
Now I follow you. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that's what they were doing.
Yeah, Commissioner Boyd,
I'm sorry to have so many questions. There's such
Right.
a lot of information here.
it is.
And I appreciate you talking about the ISO. I'd still like to see like the components, and I've had a couple hours of ISO talk, and I still don't understand all the components that come into it.
It's very
I know
difficult.
that there are people that can come in, they have state experts on ISO, but I would still, before I would recommend going forward, I'd like to look at the ISO and all the elements that go into it and how that could help us in our economy here. And then we also have this contract that's all here. And I don't understand all the contract. I haven't had time to understand it. And when I get, there's a lot of it that I would like to read more, but like under county payment, I don't understand this part here about the county certifies this payment is consistent entirely. I don't know what this means.
I'll leave that up to the lawyer, honestly, on that one.
So I
If you'll
don't,
give me
I
2
don't
minutes, I can
understand.
explain and answer a lot of your questions.
So I would just like more time to look at the contract. I don't understand all the
You
things
want
in
me
the
to tell you
contract.
what that means?
Could you, sir?
That is saying that the funds they receive have to be outside of a municipality. It's gotta be generated outside in the county.
Oh. So like I was saying, it has to be a sales tax.
It would have to be unique to the county. It can't be a burden placed on the
So
municipalities.
when I live in the city of Gallatin, I pay Gallatin taxes and I pay county taxes. You can't take my taxes from my, how does
They can
that?
take it and give it to your city, to answer your question. This formula was started in 1997. Robertson County happened to have their own fire department, and you talk about ISO ratings, they had an ISO of 6 inside Springfield. They only had one fire station. The state come in and ruled that it was unfair taxation because only people within 5 miles of the city of Springfield was able to get their ISO rating as 6. To be a countywide fire department, you have to have the same ISO rating throughout the whole department. So they shut down the paid fire department at the time. The state come in, recommended using this formula and for the other fire departments. And the reason why the property values are in there is because it gives an incentive to the fire departments. When we've got a new 500 house subdivision, I know that never happens anywhere, that comes into your area, a couple of years down the road, you're gonna get a funding increase because of that subdivision that's come in. So that's the reason why the property improvements are actually in there. Today, since 1997, actually 10 years later, most of the fire departments in Robertson County have dropped theirs to a 4 or 5 or a 6 ISO rating. Usually after underneath a 7 to a 5, residential homeowners premiums stay the same. When you go to 4, 3, and 2, and 1, it affects more commercial buildings. But your insurance premium, after you drop it to a 5 or below, it's not gonna get any cheaper for homeowners. So our goal is to make sure all our departments inside of Sumner County has a minimum of ISO rating 5. And that gives them an incentive, if you tie it in to the funding formula, to get they get more money, the lower their rating is. So that's the reason why that's in there. I've been operating under this for years. In Robertson County, it's every 4 years, we go back there and evaluate it. We don't do it every year. The clerk's office don't change the property that often.
Do you do it on offset, so like 24 is a reappraisal, would you reassess in 25?
No.
Or do you do it on the cycle?
Yeah, usually on the cycle, and that's when we go through and renew our contracts if need be. This past year, we got, they doubled our funding in Robertson County.
From 120 to 270.
Yeah, that's just our department.
One department is now getting $270,000 a year from Robertson County.
And what makes them unique is, only 3 or 4 counties in the entire state of Tennessee has fire tax. The most recent one, is Cheatham County. They're kind of unusual, but the difference is the county also pays the city for fire protections. So they also pay them. That's how they get by with doing
With this, I think that I need more time to understand how that would work.
No, I mean, y'all wanna roll it in one?
Let's roll it
A
up.
while.
I make a motion to.
There's a lot.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, this is to stay under old business then. All right, 13A EMS pay studies. You want to go ahead after the, yeah.
Alright, so we've handed out or emailed to you guys, the best comparison that I can give to simplify it down. I think the important things to look at here is where Sumner County lines up with other agencies who are working the 2,928 hours a year. So we're the lowest paid agency in the mid-state working that schedule. Many other agencies have moved to alternative scheduling, where that they work much less overtime for their pay. It's something that we've considered. But I think we need to put together a plan to bring our agency's pay up into the market. And I don't think that at this time the scheduling is going to help us that much, mainly due to the cost of living in our county. Our biggest competitor right now is the Nashville Fire Department. And if you look at their salaries at the very top line and the hours that they work compared to us, their EMTs and paramedics are working about 700 hours less per year for 20 plus more total yearly compensation. So that puts us in a really tough market, them being a neighbor to us. They have very comparable benefits, comparable retirement. And honestly right now, they're in a position to hire 32 additional EMTs and paramedics before the end of the fiscal year. They started with a need of 60 last month. They started taking them away from us this month. Their first class starts March 14th. This puts us at a crossroads to where our current staffing, we are 11 field operations personnel down. We have 3 on FMLA or workers' comp injuries, so that's going to put us at 14 people short out in the field by the end of this month. I'd like to see a recommendation to the budget committee passed out of here to address this and to bring our department into the market in Middle Tennessee.
John Michael, I'd like to ask you a question. Metro is doing the 72-hour, what is that?
They do
24/7?
They do 412s, which is very similar to the 24/72.
Is that not part of the problem that we have, that people want more time off?
More time off, that's correct.
So would that take care of most of the problem? I know it's gonna cost more personnel to do that.
Right. So for us to do that, we're looking at adding 31 full-time employees. And currently,
And we can't even get, gotcha.
yeah, we're 14
To
behind.
get that idea.
I don't think that they're in the pipeline, to be honest with you, at the moment, especially with Metro taking so many from the region.
Is Metro the only municipality, are they the ones doing that right now?
Doing the
Or
hiring,
Robertson County doing
the scheduling?
Yeah, the 12, 3, 4, 12s?
No, they're not. So other agencies, Rutherford County is doing 24/72, which is similar hours to Metro schedule. Williamson County has gone to 24/72, which is comparable in hours. Montgomery County is doing a hybrid system where some of their ambulances are on a 24/48 like we are, and some of them are moving to the Metro schedule, which is 4/12s on, 4/12s off.
How close are we to having to shut down?
I'd say most days right now, we're a call out or two away from shutting down an ambulance. Right now, we do have deficiencies in our BLS division where we've moved them out, and we're staffing the ALS division to make sure that we make those 911 responses.
So the citizens were asking about the administrative costs compared to the wages, and they mentioned that we'd had they mentioned 2 salary studies in the past, and I was wondering if we could get those.
I don't think
Are they anywhere?
I don't know if we know where they're at.
I'd like to, I'll add, do you know?
So I don't have a copy of those.
I don't
Those
think
were before
anybody
my
has a
time. But I can tell you that they quickly become outdated if they're more than a couple years old. And just as we heard in some citizen comments earlier, we have done pay studies 2 or 3 times, and every time what has come out of that is we want to pay the worker bees. All right, so what that's created is a big compression. If we give another raise to the worker bees, if you will, our AMTs and paramedics, without continuing to give our administration a raise, then the field personnel will truly be making more than the leaders in the department who've been here for years.
So, are we discussing, or I didn't know if we opened it up for open discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Can we get a look at those numbers? I mean, with the sheriff's department, we did look at the numbers individually. And do you have a number for your administrative costs compared to your non-administrative costs? Do you have that?
I mean, we could look at salary worksheets and get that fairly easy if that's what you wanted to do. I
Do
did
you
not
have a
bring
ballpark now?
the cost. I do not have the difference in those. I did not bring that to this committee as I felt like just a recommendation was needed out of here. And if it moves forward, then, you know, we'll make sure to get all the numbers needed to bring that to the budget committee.
So I did a lot of work on the sheriff's numbers. I wouldn't feel comfortable, I mean, after, if they would forgive me, after everything I've put Chief Craddock through, I would not give you a yes, go ahead, that easy. And knowing that I sat with him for probably at least, we probably sat together for over 40 hours discussing it before we ever said yes. So I'll be voting no just because I haven't had a chance to even look at it and even come up with an opinion.
Go ahead.
Would the proper place for such a study stay within this committee, or would it be in budget to have like a pay study or something like that?
So again, I want to, as the chair, I want to take just a minute and stress, this is just the idea. We're just the baby phase,
So
saying
we're looking
that
at moving it to budget.
that's what we're trying to say. That's what I think this idea of this committee
So
is.
do I need to make a motion that we send this to the budget?
For a budget to do the pay study,
Yes,
that we
absolutely.
recommend it, and that's what we're thinking. That's
my motion.
done. We've got a motion and a second. All right, so now we've got a motion on the floor for the pay study to go to budget, and for budget to see what's needed for the pay study for EMS. That's where we're at. That's all this committee does. Take the idea and say, yep, here. Now you see what's with it, you can. Sorry, so we got a motion and a second. Anybody else got any questions, comments, concerns?
Well, it seems like we have a lot to pull apart and see what's going on. He's down 2 people, or I'm sorry, 14 people. And he's close to being in a disaster, because he said if he's any more people down, it could be a serious situation. And if it truly is meaning that we need to send it to budget, and that's the answer, then sure. but I feel like sometimes we get shut down on this committee because we're asking hard questions. That's just my opinion, but, you know, the answer is what's the best route, because the budget does the pay studies. Okay, that's what they're looking for. They're wanting to get an idea of what everybody makes. The administrators, the EMTs, the paramedics, the garage guy, all the stuff. And to figure all that out, this is fine, but there's also a lot of other people over there. And I think that it's important to understand who makes what. So, Terry, I mean, you did the study. How did you do the police study? Did you do it out of the budget? Was it through the budget committee that you guys recommended this?
It went straight to, I believe the sheriff's salary didn't come to us, did it? Did it come to us first? I don't remember.
It didn't come through here, no. It was,
Yeah.
I think it was a result of wanting to move funds, and it went back to budget, and then from budget is where it was split out and made.
So where it happens.
Essentially, it went to budget to be voted on, to be reviewed and to look at, and you spent your hours with Sheriff Chief Craddock, and then you guys decided from that. Am I correct?
Yes, and it was a little bit different because at that point it wasn't a new appropriation because we used it out of a miracle fund that came from the state. So it was a bit different.
Well, we're gonna need miracles to cover a lot of this stuff, so I would say maybe it would be a good idea to put it in budget so that they can go ahead and vote on it. You know, I don't mind, I like to talk about issues and questions, but when I get disrespected when I'm speaking and by other people here, I really have an issue with that. I respect everybody's comments on this table, but I think we need to stop the undermined conversations here. And I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I'm just a little tired of it. Thank you, and I'll shut up.
Commissioner?
I don't have a problem with sending it to budget. My only hesitancy was if this committee needed to do anything to gather more information to send with this to study. And so I was asking Commissioner Boyd if there's anything that she would like to request or anybody else thinks needs to travel along with this to get the budget. They could ask the same question. This would only give it an extra week worth of time to prepare. So I'm throwing that out there. If nobody speaks up, then I'm ready to send it on to budget. But I wanted to at least.
Chief, can you get numbers
opportunity
so that they will be available whenever it goes to budget?
Yes, sir. I've gotten everything I can from the counties that you have here. Some of it did have to come from social media. I've reached out to them. Not every county is this transparent and shares everything the same direction or the same way. But I do have a good database ready to go to budget committee if we can.
Try to get as much information as you possibly can.
Yes, sir.
When it arrives at budget.
Legal, is there an issue should this pass? And I believe budget's agenda is already printed and published. Was this on that?
The budget will be Wednesday.
Okay, so we can still get it
But
added.
the budget has its own threshold. Some of the stuff had to be on Thursday.
Budget came out today.
Right, so for it to move on, I don't think the budget, the agenda's been posted.
Gotcha.
being a pace study.
That's where I'm referencing, but I do know they've got certain other hurdles that have to be jumped through.
Right.
Just to get onto their meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. Commissioner Harris? Do you
Never
have
mind.
something?
Never
Okay.
mind.
Commissioner Boyd?
So can I ask you a question? It's a question that we asked the sheriff's office, and it's a question we asked some of the departments. Here in our county, the county pays 5% towards your employment, or towards the employee portion of your retirement. And a lot of the other places, well, most of the other places that we looked at during the sheriff's review did not. So we're paying into retirement 5%. So I know that that's one of the things, when you go to hire someone, they don't take that into account. When you get a new employee, you're starting at the bottom, and they don't realize what we're paying into that retirement fund. So one of the things that we asked then, and I'm asking you now, do you want us to start moving that into the pay, into your hourly pay, and pull it from the retirement? Because we're paying more for our employees. So it's a When we went and asked, it's gonna have to be a countywide decision. If we're having trouble attracting employees, we can pay them more if we stop paying their retirement, because the Robertson County's not putting in that 5% for the retirement, that we are. And they are able to pay higher starting wages. So that's a question that I'm gonna ask in budget again, if you could determine if that's something you'd be interested in pursuing.
I wouldn't be interested in reducing any benefits. We would just adjust the pay to whatever we think it needs to be to keep us competitive.
And then talk with the other departments. I know Chief Craddock understands, and he was interested in that in order to get more employees in and become more competitive in the market. Gets us more apples to apples when we fill out that. We're hiring at $22 an hour opposed to $20 an hour. And it's just a shifting in where we're at. So it's a question that we're gonna discuss, if that's something you can.
I can try to be prepared to see what other counties are doing with their EMS departments, if there's any difference between the sheriff's office and other general employees.
Because we can help you out by doing that.
Commissioner Jones?
Mr. Chairman, the fact that this is just a pay study request, would that be okay to add to an agenda without the length of public notice, because it's not something that's gonna be voted on that night? Does that help anything?
I
They
think
could
we
add
got,
it at the time of the agenda, right?
I think we got plenty of time. He said it was Wednesday, so I think
I
we're still good.
apologize. If I could clarify, I was thinking that was one of mine. David posts that agenda, so I believe it is actually up.
Okay, so it would just have to be
That was
added
about,
from-
that was me. My stuff that I generate usually doesn't get posted till Wednesday. That
Gotcha.
was the confusion.
So it could be added
Yeah,
at the.
they could add it at the table. Commissioner
Call
Hayes?
for question.
Questions been
Second.
called? All those,
Second.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so we've got a motion and a second. So we're all clear, this is to send this to budget, for budget to see what kind of attachments or lack thereof or conditions they want to put on. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right,
Motion to adjourn.
got a motion and a second, thank you.
So yeah, we can.
Have a good one.
It's a little work here, but yeah, we're paying 5%. See, Robertson County, and they don't do that. You know?
Take it blue of pay.
Eric, you got that?